Good evening and welcome. Let's take a look at our top story this hour. Beijing will impose reciprocal restrictions on all American diplomats in China in response to earlier curbs on the activities of its embassy staff in the United States. Countermeasures will apply to all U.S. embassy and consulate staff, as well as the consulate general in Hong Kong. The announcement comes days after it threatened to respond to a series of new restrictions on Chinese diplomats in the U.S., such as a requirement to seek approval for university visits or meetings with local officials. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said last week that those measures were a response to long-established controls on American diplomats in China, drawing an angry rebuke from Beijing. U.S.-China tensions have escalated over the last year under President Donald Trump, which are expected to peak in the lead-up to the U.S. presidential election. The U.S. State Department has last week said that the Secretary of State Mike Pompeo would launch a cooperation partnership with Mekong River partner countries Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, Thailand and Vietnam, aimed at strengthening their autonomy, economic independence and sustainable development. Now, the announcement for this partnership is likely to take place later today. In a bid to ease tensions at the LAC, the Indian and Chinese foreign ministers held discussions aimed at seeking a resolution to the prolonged border crisis in Ladakh. Now, talks between Indian Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar and his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi lasted for over 2 hours. The discussion between both sides was termed frank and constructive. Both the countries have reached a 5-point consensus to guide their approach to the situation on the line of actual control. Firstly, both sides will continue to take guidance from talks between their leaders. Now, this assessment was a clear reference to decisions taken by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping at their 2 informal summits in 2018 and 2019. Secondly, the focus would be on quick disengagement of troops to ease the tensions. Thirdly, India and China will abide by all the agreements and protocols to maintain peace. Fourthly, the dialogue will proceed through a special representative mechanism. And lastly, both sides will boost confidence-building measures. As per the government sources, the Indian side has highlighted its strong concern at the massing of Chinese troops and equipment along the LAC, saying that the provocative behavior of Chinese troops showed disregard for bilateral agreements. India called for an urgent resolution. Meanwhile, China has acknowledged the consensus. It has agreed to de-escalate and disengage and to stop the provocations at the border immediately. China has said that it is ready for dialogue to resolve the issues. As of now, India-China Brigade Commanders' interaction at the line of actual control is underway. These interactions have been happening on a daily basis and hopes remain high, especially after the joint statement that calls for disengagement. For more on this, we are being joined by our principal diplomatic correspondent, Sudheendra Kulkarni. Good evening to you, Sudheendra. Talks between the 2 foreign ministers lasted for over 2 hours yesterday, and we are hearing that the discussion between both sides was termed frank and constructive. They have come up with a 5-point plan. Take us through what this is.
Well, Alison, one of the most important developments in India-China relationship in last 4 months amidst rising tensions between the 2 neighbors, even as the troops at certain locations are just 300 meters away from each other. But the first important step in terms of making sure that things normalize and also something of a political guidance by the foreign ministers of 2 countries when it comes to disengagement process. We saw the joint statement which came out after the meeting, the 2-hour-long meeting which happened in Moscow yesterday. And the 5-point meeting, if I can simplify for my audience, is that there are 3 Ds. First, of course, dialogue. Second, disengagement. And thirdly, maintaining distance between the troops of the two countries, making sure that there is a process of easing out of tensions. We know that how situation has deteriorated at the line of actual control, with, of course, India losing 20 of its soldiers, then, of course, firing by the Chinese just in the start of this week. But by and large, this is something that will decide the future course of relationship between India and China. Because remember, in the conversations which happened, in the Indian External Affairs Minister raised the issue, in fact highlighted the issue of the Chinese build-up, how this was a provocative action and how this goes against the convention, the previous convention between India and China. So primarily the ball is in the court of Beijing now, how it implements the entire disengagement process, and also the corps commanders meeting, the 6th Corps commanders meeting that is being planned by both sides.
Right, Sudheendra, thank you very much for that update, for all the latest.